This is Avengers 329, and the great news is that this issue is almost naught but admin work, and I fucking love that, didn't I? We even have a really underrated cover by Ryan Paul, Captain America up front on a stage, speaking into a podium, announcing to the world that there is a new team of Avengers. Although there's not really, they're pretty much the same team who have appeared in the last 3 issues. You can see the team in the pictures in the background. We start off with a blank one, and the reason it's left blank is because they obviously knew a corner box was going to go in there, but I imagine Iron Man, he's meant to be there. Then we have got 4 She-Hulks, Division, Kaiser, Scarlett Johansson, Big Barda, Rage, Darth Knight, who isn't in the run much at all, Spider-Man, who they made a big deal about him joining the team, but then he isn't in it much either. Mysterious Man here. Ooh, I wonder who it is. It is the Sandman. It's meant to be a big surprise for you. Hercules Man, likewise, he's not in it much either. Then we have got Falcon Man down here, and our here is Captain Marbles, the real one, Monica Rambeau. I reckon these two, they were just put there to be like red herons. They're not part of this team. Well, neither are Darth Knight or Hercules Man. But I tell you what, if you put your hands here like that, and then imagine Iron Man in that box up there, well then you have got a cover showing the team from this run. The plot here is that the Avengers, they have been cooped up in Avengers House for a few days. They are waiting on government approval because what happened was the UN, they didn't allow the Avengers permission to go after Lieutenant Surge in the first story from this run. So now they have been trying to hash out a deal with the United Nations. Great double splash page here showing us a whole bunch of Avengers. Really love this. I love stuff like this. And I would say that most of the Avengers here are among the team's most major members. I thought rather than just summarise an issue which is mostly Avengers voting for who should be on the team and talking about how they will operate and stuff, I could use this video to instead talk about my feelings towards the Avengers and their membership. Someone pointed out the hypocrisy of me calling out writers creating new characters just to put them on the Avengers, when there is a character from this run, Rage, who is just that. And the truth is that my open-mindedness towards that sort of stuff, it was different at this point. At this point, 1991, I still gave the writer and the editor credit. I think Barry Hama, he introduced Rage to the team, not because he wanted to force his own pet character onto them, but because he wanted to tell a story. Whereas I feel when Kurt Busiek did the exact same story with The Token, his words, not mine, that was purely Kurt's egomania and vanity. He wanted to create like the new Black Avenger or something. And another thing that you can see is hypocritical of me is Sandman on this team. When if someone like Rick Remender put a character like that on his team out of nowhere, I would say that it felt just like it was the case that it was a character that the writer wanted to write, and that it hasn't been considered at all whether or not they deserve to be an Avenger. Here, I think Barry Hama and the editors, and probably the more major editors like Marky Mark and Tom the Falcon, they approved the Sandman idea because Barry Hama's take and direction for the character made sense, and he obviously reasoned quite well why Sandman is being accepted by the Avengers. In between the bits of admin, we have got subplots with various baddies. We have got these rubbish monster people with their idiotic names. Sadly, they will be hanging around for a few more issues. With the Avengers and at times the Justice League, I think they are like the major ones where you just have selfish writers abusing the team's membership for themselves. I mean, you still have the all creators pet stuff going on with like the Excellent Men or whatever. But I find it to be a consistent and an enormous problem with, say, the Avengers after this run, or after Tom Beaver took over editing at least. So when the Avengers are talking, we do have a fun little bit with Spider-Man. He is teasing Hercules Man. This promises the possibility of a really great dynamic that we never got. Part of the reason that Spider-Man and Sandman, they didn't really work out as Avengers or get much to do or have a longer tenure with the team, and probably why Barry Hama walked off from the book as well. The Spider-Man writer David Miscellaneous, he was a bit butthurt that the editors had agreed to allow the Avengers book to use both Spider-Man and Sandman. But we'll come to how he put a spanner in the works in a few weeks. Right now we have got Rage and Sandman. They are waiting outside, and Sandman, he is in disguise because they really didn't want you to guess who it is yet. With Sandman, I feel he needed more setup. This is the 4th issue into this run, and Sandman, he hadn't been mentioned or even alluded to beforehand. It seems like the Avengers' decision to recruit him comes out of nowhere. Even his appearances in other books where we see him not being a baddie anymore and how he is reformed. It's a case that the Avengers characters were never involved. It was always like Spider-Man or the Fantastic Force. So I didn't really understand why the Avengers are willing to take this enormous leap of faith because the Thing or Spider-Man told them that Sandman was a goodie bird now. Again, had this run ran longer, I imagine a lot of this sort of stuff might have been acknowledged, but we never really get much on Sandman's character. We just get, again, like a little tease of what would have been promising. LD50 now, he is a drug dealer who uses big words. He's meant to be Rage's enemy. And in a totally shit move, Barry Hama, he teams the drug dealers up with the monsters. This is stupid. The whole idea of LD50 and the drug dealing was to provide a down-to-earth, street-level antagonist for Rage. It's meant to also show that the Avengers, they are quite crippled when it comes to dealing with stuff like that. And then just to abandon that and have him team up with the monsters, it's just a bit sad. So now we get to Captain America. He is announcing the new members to the public. First it is Spider-Man and J.K. Jonah Jameson. He ain't happy about that. Then after Spider-Man, we have got the big surprise that Sandman is being brought onto the team. There is some clap back to that, where a guy in the audience, he says Sandman is a criminal, but Captain America points out that Sandman has reformed. He has been pardoned for his crimes. He even has a presidential pardon. But weirdly, the thing that the crowd are most up in arms about is Rage. Some crazy social justice warrior, and this was the 90s before it was trendy. She throws an egg at Rage and calls the Avengers a bunch of racists. Meanwhile, LD50 and the monsters, they are watching it all on the telly box, and they heard Rage talking about making his granny proud, so they decide to try and locate her to get revenge against him. So then we get back to the Avengers and Rage. He gets mad at the SJW and he jumps down to yell at Sophie Campbell here. And you know what? Maybe there is an undue focus on Rage. We're 4 issues in now and he's always been quite central. Maybe there is some elements of him being a creator's pet. But again, I think it's more the case that Barry Hama had a story and he wanted to tell a story rather than him trying to push his own creation at the expense of everyone else in the book. The Avengers are suddenly attacked by crazy cosmic deities called the Triarchs of Endoscopy, and to endear me to them so much, they all have unpronounceable names as well. They have shown up to judge the Avengers. They consider themselves like a cosmic tribunal. And they take some of the Avengers away to put on trial. And then the ones who are left behind try to fight against them. But it's no use. They're not powerful enough. Importantly, they haven't taken Sandman or Rage. Or if you come back, you can see Spider-Man. Instead, they have abducted these 7 here. These Avengers, they are trapped in another weird dimension, making that 2 stories in a row that this has happened. But this time, they have sealed off Thor's magic hammer and also sealed off Big Border as well, so that they can't use either of them to try and escape from this prison realm. So the Avengers are stranded, and we end with monsters showing up at Rage's granny's house. It's to be continued, but I didn't think we'd pick up on this plotline until 2 issues time. Then next issue, I think we start getting letters in about this run, and I'll even be looking at some of them. I have got a soft spot for most of this. It is admin. I fucking love me characters just sitting down and selecting members for a team or doing paperwork about their adventures. Fucking love it. But what I didn't fucking love is the monsters, or pretty much all the villains in this run, barring Lieutenant Surge, have stupid names. This issue though, I will rate it fairly and I rate it 7 thumbs up.